Hello, everyone. Welcome to Khurram Qureshi's podcast. Today, we have very special guest from Alzheimer Society of Durham, Gillian Barrie. Gillian, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much for coming in my podcast. So, please give our audiences your introduction of Alzheimer Society of Durham and tell about yourself and your time in this community.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to be here to talk about the Alzheimer Society of Durham Region. We are a charitable organization. We've been around for close to 50 years almost. We are what we call a community support service, and so we are an integral member of the healthcare system. And we service a variety of what we call clients. So they could be people living with dementia, they could be caregivers, they could be members of the public, different organizations, healthcare providers, really anybody who is impacted by dementia in any way. We will often have a program or a service for them.
Very good, very good. So it's define that program a bit. So this is a charitable organization, but is also funded by Ontario or federal government.
We do receive about 60% of our funding comes from the government of Ontario, but we do rely heavily on fundraising for the rest of that. And like I said, the services really sort of span what we call the dementia journey. So I can talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like.
Sure.
I think maybe one of the common misconceptions that people have about the Alzheimer's Society is that we only serve people with Alzheimer's disease, which we do not. We actually serve people with any type of dementia. Dementia is an umbrella term.
Okay.
We also serve people who might have mild cognitive impairment, so not yet dementia, or people who maybe only have a cognitive concern. So maybe some things have changed. They don't have a diagnosis yet, but there's some things that maybe they need some support with. So we do offer quite a bit. And again, not just for those living with Alzheimer's, but all dementias.
Got it. So what is the primary difference between dementia and Alzheimer?
Well, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. It's actually the most common type of dementia. There are lots of different types of dementia under what we call the umbrella. And, there's different symptoms and different characteristics that come with many different types of dementia. It sort of depends on what your diagnosis is.
Very good. And the name says Alzheimer Societies of Durham Region. So is it specifically only for Durham Region residents or you're open to all?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are what we call a local society. So we service Durham Region, but we're part of a federation across the province of Ontario that consists of 26 local societies. So everyone is sort of broken up into their own regions, and we come together under our federation, and we work very closely together and work very closely with the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario. So we work as a federation together. And every local society is slightly different. We have a lot of similar programs, depends on sort of the area. But then there's other societies that might have different programs than we do because of how funding happens or what their local communities need. So it's always nice to touch base with your local society wherever you live.
Got it. Now, one interesting aspect is as we close to GTA, and our major city is Toronto, which is one of the biggest city in Canada. So how do you relate your society compared to the Society of Alzheimer in Toronto?
Well, we work really closely with them. They're a very strong partner with us. Of course, they're our neighbors, just like the Alzheimer's Society of Peterborough, Kawartha Lakes, Northumberland, Haliburton. I think that's their name. But they obviously are a much bigger society than we are. They have a larger area, a lot larger population, but also very similar programs. So there's lots of programs that are run in every Alzheimer's society across the province, like our First Link program. We have other programs in common with Toronto. We both run a young onset dementia day program. And it really depends. Again, they may have services that reflect the Toronto population versus ours might be more reflective of the Durham population.
Got it. Do you see any differences in the cases from the Toronto region versus Durham region in the patient's behavior?
I mean, I don't know their client roster, but I would imagine, from a diversity perspective, there might be more clients coming to them with different languages, different cultural backgrounds, although in Durham we are quite diverse in what we offer as well. I know for us in Durham, we actually do have services offered in French, which is not the case for all local societies. So we do have a French-speaking staff who is delivering service for our Francophone clients. We do have quite a population throughout Durham, including in Oshawa, that speak French. So that's one of the reasons why we have that.
Interesting. Now, one of the questions our audiences may have is what causes dementia and what are the early symptoms to look forward to?
There's a lot of research out there about what causes dementia. There's lots of different components to it, right? There's some genetic components, there's lifestyle factors, there's lots of different research pointing to different things. There's, right now, if you search it up, there's 14 modifiable risk factors, as we say, that people can look at as part of their lifestyle of ways to maybe reduce their chances of developing dementia. But, the things that you can do now in your early lifestyle, we always say what's good for your body is also good for your mind. So adopting a healthy lifestyle, exercise, diet is important. There's specific diets that are thought to be better suited for brain health. And also keeping tabs on things like diabetes, hypertension, making sure that you're, looking at your smoking cessation. There's lots of different things you can do, but at the same time, there is also genetic components, right, that sometimes predispose people to developing certain types of dementia.
Just like diabetics and like heart disease, genetic component is involved or accident. Any age that you should be start alerting about it, like in the 40s, you need to take care of your heart issues, and mid 40s and late 40s. In men, prostate issue, and the woman, breast cancer kind of situation. So any of those age-related, gender-related advice you have?
I mean, personally, I feel that the learning about dementia and learning about brain health should start very young, like we're talking school-age children. I would love to see brain health being incorporated into our school education, just like, anything else. It's a public health initiative that needs to happen. And I think if we start at a young age and we raise children to understand the ways that we can take care of our brains and our minds, we would be better off later in life of having adopted more healthy lifestyle and being able to do those things without thinking about it. And I think for women in particular, I think about there's a lot of research out there now around women's brain health, ways that we can sort of introduce some of those healthy lifestyles, things that you can do to better take care of yourself. But at the same time, I will say it's never too early to learn about it.
It's such a nice thing. So you say, it's never too early to start it. And I think what I'm observing, that teenagers these days have a wealth of information, and they're way ahead compared to our ages when the internet and mobile phone were not very common, but now they have access to so much information. So with that, knowledge is available to educate them, just like financial knowledge, about the health knowledge they need to have. But mainly our focus right now with the school system too is about healthy body and brain, but not mainly the brain function and optimization. But if we start to look into it, we will address that earlier. And also some deficiencies and hidden disabilities, if we talk about it, that can help reduce bullying, in school, as well as some other mental illness, which students can develop later on in the stage. So definitely brain education, mind education is very important. And I will do the advocacy for that, working with you in the education system. And we should do this thing more.
Yeah, I think there's a common misconception that dementia only impacts people in the late stages of their life, right? That's not necessarily the case. We have, people who live with what we call young onset dementia. There's also people who can develop dementia symptoms very early on, say after experiencing a brain injury. And so we've had people come to us who are quite young, and you sort of think, wow, that this can happen quite young. And that's part of that stigma reduction, right? I'm not thinking of dementia as just something that happens when you get old, because dementia is not a normal part of aging. So it's something that, regardless of your age, you should be thinking about, how do I take care of my brain just like I would take care of my body?
So what feeds brain or not feeds brain, if you ask me?
All the things that are good for your body. So not smoking, not drinking to excess,
Yes.
The healthy diet. There's a diet that we often promote called the Mediterranean diet, which is very high in, omegas, nuts and fish and things that, reducing red meat and things like that. There's lots of things out there. When you mentioned about the teens and the sort of online savviness, there's also a lot of misinformation out there. And so I think that sometimes I know even if I'm on, my Instagram or whatever, and I've scrolled on something, then I start getting all the ads about whatever that is.
I know, yeah.
And sometimes it's like, oh no, that is dangerous to talk about this particular thing as it relates to dementia. And so you have to be very mindful of making sure you're getting your information from reliable sources like the Alzheimer's Society and other places out there, because we have a lot of online resources that are available in multiple languages as well.
Got it. And this is very true that the day and age we live in, where the fake news are becoming normal, they're not like hype anymore, it's real. And alteration through the AI subject is talking and look very real, but it's not actual person. It's like scripted. So manipulation does happen. So it's better to take the advice from professionals. Yeah. So if any organization wants to learn and wants to get educated, can they be able to contact your society and ask?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we talk a lot about our services sort of spanning the dementia journey, right? So programs that might start very early on, even if you're seeking a diagnosis, all the way to end of life and beyond. So we intersect with so many different community partners over that journey, whether it's primary care, acute care, the community, obviously people living at home, then long-term care if that's needed. And so organizations, regardless of what they do, it could be, people who work in retail, it could be a healthcare provider. If they want training for their staff or they want to learn more about how they can become more dementia friendly, we absolutely will do that. We can provide that training. We actually have a program called Dementia Friendly Communities, which allows us to provide that training, and people can get a certification they'll get a sticker for their door that says they are dementia friendly certified, and they commit to that and they keep their staff up to date with training.
This is super awesome. Mm-hmm. As a consultant, I would love to get trained myself, my staff, and I would like to tell other organizations to get that training, which is available, on their spare. Because most of the time, people, this is a livable disease. Mm-hmm. It's not something that, you cannot be able to live it. Just like manageable, like diabetic. If you manage it, you can be able to live. The thing is, people get the disease and think that, this is the end, and there's no, like osteoarthritis is, right? So you can manage it, you can live very well with that. So education is the key, and the companies needs to get involved in training. And once they get trained, they can be able to involve and volunteer. So is there a fee for training that you provide?
For the Dementia Friendly Communities training, no, there's no fee. And, we do want a commitment, obviously, from those organizations that they will keep their training up to date. We'll give them also feedback around if they're storefront, maybe some suggestions about how their environment is laid out, things like that, so that they can adopt and adapt their different, changes to their layout or colors or whatever it might be. So no fee for that. So one of the things that's nice about having them on the website is that people can go to the website and find out locally are there businesses where they live that are dementia friendly? So if you're looking for a dental office, you could go and look at the list and say, oh, my dentist is actually trained. Great. I would be going there. I think one of the things with dementia-friendly communities is I think it really bonds people. We've committed to this together. And that is the ultimate goal of creating a dementia-friendly community. And I mean, it would be amazing if we could get a whole town, a whole region dementia-friendly.
I will definitely do talk to the regional chair, John Henry, to have a campaign this summer to push the businesses to take that advantage of this training and put the sticker on the businesses with the pride that this is dementia safe community or the office space, so the customers or the staff who's coming in, who are diagnostic or not diagnostic, they get to know, we are trained and we welcome those clientele. So that's very good.
We've had some great support from the town of Whitby as well as from the region of Durham. So different sectors sort of coming together. And so it's nice to see that. And we're always happy to support and see our sticker on doors as we navigate the community, right?
Very good.
Yeah.
So how's the town of Ajax is working? Are they collaborating really good with you?
You know what? Ajax has been an amazing partner for us. This past year, we actually opened a hub in Ajax. So we have our main office in Whitby, and then we opened a hub in Ajax. And I know Ajax as a town has been very committed to age-friendly initiatives. And so being part of that, and, thinking about dementia-friendly as one of those initiatives. We also focused a lot on Port Perry this past year because Port Perry actually has the highest number of seniors living in Durham Region. So we made a concerted effort to focus on Port Perry, and honestly, the support from the downtown there has been amazing. So we're using that as a bit of a model for other towns to say, everybody needs to sort of, maybe there's a bit of a friendly competition to see how many businesses can get their training.
Sure. And just like CPR training and other training, one of the staff needs to have more than 10 people, it's not by law, but it's good to have, somebody, trained professional. I think one of these things, can affect the workplace and workspace, comfortable for everyone, not only the client, but people, at the workplace too, to know it and perform better in their everyday tasks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Gillian, so far so good. You're giving us a very wealth of information which we needed as consumers and citizens of Durham Region. So tell us about what are the essential service supports you provide to people living with dementia and their care partners?
Well, as I often say, we provide service along that dementia journey. So there's quite a bit that we do, starting right from being able to access a diagnosis. So we actually support 3 memory clinics in Durham Region that are run by primary care physicians. So, those 3 clinics help with the diagnosis part of things. We also do quite a bit of cognitive assessment and screening, even in our office space, and liaising with people's physicians so that they can access a diagnosis, because that is often the very first place that people start. But even if people don't have a diagnosis, or even if they're past that point, we provide support and education in the forms of social work support. So we have a team of social workers. We do a lot of navigating of the healthcare system, because the healthcare system is a challenge. We know this. And, when people are diagnosed with dementia or, even mild cognitive impairment, that piece is so overwhelming. You're dealing with a whole new set of questions and things. And so having somebody like one of our staff, a navigator, help guide you as to the things that maybe you should think about, set some goals, maybe some key pieces that you might want to think about or be connected to, whether it's our service or another service, that can be invaluable just to have that person. And again, as things maybe change throughout the dementia journey, maybe you need a bit more support when it comes to, therapeutic counseling, dealing with sort of the mental health component of this. As a caregiver, it can be a lot. Yes. We do a lot of education, as I said, both for people living with the disease, caregivers, healthcare providers. We do a lot of training programs for healthcare providers, local businesses, the education, really the awareness and trying to reduce the stigma around dementia. And we also run a lot of active living and fun recreation programs. So we have a day program that we run at our office in Whitby. We also run programs all across Durham Region with different community partners where we leverage their space and really try to get people active and socially engaged, because maintaining your social connections when you're diagnosed with dementia is so important. And oftentimes I hear from people that their friendships or maybe their existing social connections change after they're diagnosed. And so creating a new community for yourself of people who are going through a similar thing is so important, whether that is going to a program or maybe attending a support group. Finding your people, is so important. And we're sort of the connector that is able to allow that to happen. I always love our programs, our social programs. I'm lucky that I get to hear them, every day that I'm in the office, and it's a lot of joy, and it's a lot of involvement for the person coming to the program, and they get the physical activity and the social interaction, but their caregiver also gets respite and a bit of a break, and that is also so important. So
Nicely said. Respite is extremely important. As a father of an autistic child, and I tell you, if we didn't have any good collaborator from the region of Durham, providing us the support and the guidance for the funding and all that, it would be disaster. And it was disaster. It's extremely hard on the parents when there's no history in the family about autism or anything like that, and suddenly you are overwhelmed with what you go through. So I can totally relate that through the child's autism to how elderly people get to see their parents go through with the Alzheimer and dementia, and that is certainly is important to do that. So is the respite service or the advisory service provided mainly by you or the region of Durham, if they have any department?
It depends. If you're coming to one of our programs where we do offer respite, then obviously we're providing it. But we will also connect you with other options for respite. So whether or not that is getting connected with Ontario Health at Home, which is home care, or other respite services that exist, whether it's private care through the region of Durham, however you need to sort of look at those things. It really depends on sort of where people are at in their journey. So I mentioned, I think earlier, that our day program is for people with young onset dementia. So that is anyone diagnosed before the age of 65. So many times we have people who, their caregiver is still working. And so this is where that need came from of day programming. And, we're talking a little bit about caregivers, and I know for myself, I was witness to my mom being a caregiver for my grandma who lived with vascular dementia. And my mom worked in healthcare. And so she was maybe a little bit more prepared than I think most are, because she knew sort of the system, and that gave her a bit of an advantage. And it was really important for me when I started working in this field that we make it accessible for people, that they're able to access this information when you wouldn't otherwise. I mean, most of the time, unless you're faced with it,
Yes.
you don't know.
You don't know.
And so we're starting to see caregivers, it's not as typical maybe as it once was of, the spouse caring for the loved one or the, child caring for the elderly parent. We're seeing caregivers that are quite young. We're seeing caregivers in their 20s, 30s, who are, caregiving to a parent, but also maybe caregiving to their children. That sandwich generation of caregivers is a new sort of pressure that we're seeing, and the needs are quite different. Those caregivers might still be working, or they might have very busy lives. And so how do they access respite and supports that get them connected to others who are going through the similar thing and get the resources that they need? So
Correct. And that is a very key component, because without the caregivers, because this is not a short-term fix that you can go to the hospital, get something fix, even heart transplant, or something like that, open heart surgery, and get it fixed. This is a lifelong challenge. Is it Alzheimer curable yet or manageable?
Well, I'm actually excited to say there's actually 2 approved treatments now in Canada for Alzheimer's, which, if you had talked to me a couple years ago, I would have said no. So we're really on a good path. I think it's still early stages. But Health Canada, that the approval of these drugs has meant a lot of hope for people. We're still looking for those drugs to be covered under OHIP funding. So right now, I would say from an accessibility perspective, they're not accessible to many people because of the cost. But we're hopeful that this is the start of a very exciting decade. I was mentioning to you earlier that I had been at a conference and there was talk about the use of what we call disease-modifying treatments, because this is the first time we've ever had medication that can actually modify Alzheimer's disease. And so, hearing from some of the researchers that this was not unlike how early cancer treatment started, that we're at the beginning stage of something that could be really profound. And we need to continue investing in the research and the supports because who knows what lies ahead, right, for the future. Correct. So, I think that there's a lot of our clients who are keen to hear more about where the medication might go. And so we try to offer education sessions about updates and things because things are changing and happening pretty quickly, I would say, on the front lines.
That's great. Yeah, you were mentioning earlier, you went to France about attending this conference. Is there any conference happen on the scale like it had happened in France, something in Canada?
There actually was just a conference this past summer in Toronto, but this conference that I attended was the Alzheimer's Disease International Conference. So it runs every 2 years, and I think the next one they are planning to host in India. Okay. And part of that is to make sure that there is a global focus on dementia. I would say, when I was there was a lot of perspective gained on where Canada sits amongst the different countries, and we're definitely further ahead than some, but we're not as far ahead as others. So, wanting to make sure that we're sort of moving the needle in some other countries where dementia is still very much misunderstood and not really seen as a healthcare priority.
That's correct. And also cultural difference too.
For sure.
Over there, people are living with a joint family system, and there's a lot of population too. So a lot of interaction with the people and all that. So where I see it's a good that you touched that topic and they're holding in India. So if you compare it, they have a benefit for the health and wellness community and the researchers that they have great size of population, which can be able to a good case studies to see the cases comes to the hospitals are far greater than the cases comes to the hospital in Canada because of our population size of it. Now, if you put that perspective and combine R&D and technological advancement of Canada and the patient access of India or Bangladesh or Nepal or Pakistan, in a highly populated countries, you will get an amazing combination. Because they don't have the research and advanced research facilities or the educational institutions like we do. So with that, I think it could be a great combination, and I look forward to work with you if you need that bridge build up, because sometimes when you talk about through only yourself, it's too much on you. But if a consultant works with the different set of organization, they build a bridge openly. So educational institution to society like yours, as well as the pharma industry, can be able to tag along together and make a perfect bridge that all parties can be able to not only cross exchange but also facilitate resources together.
Yeah, I think that's where those partnerships are so important, and I think that is a focus for us definitely over the next few years. I think it's important for us to have partnerships where those partners value what we value as well.
That's correct.
And so there's a sort of a shared value system, but also Durham Region is quite diverse, and we're seeing more and more of our clients coming from different areas of Durham Region, coming from different countries. So they're coming to Canada, And the education, like you said, it's very different. The understanding of dementia is very different. And we know there was a study that was done by the Alzheimer's Society of Canada in the last few years called the Landmark Study. And it looked at the projection rates of dementia across Canada and the different sort of cultural groups and how they're impacted. So Indigenous individuals being impacted at a very high rate, South Asian communities being impacted at a very high rate. And some of that is tied to social determinants of health, education, all of those different things. So it's important to me and to us as an organization that we partner with the right people so that we can offer services to these groups and meet them where they're at, right? And, if we have to start from scratch, that's okay. We need to start somewhere.
Very good, Gillian. You say very nicely and politely that partnership is important. And regardless of the organization servicing sector, partnership is open to any and all level of organizations, from charity to profit, nonprofit. So do consider Digipix, as a partnering company working with you. We have media production to search engine optimization and generative engine optimization services, and we can be able to benefit to you a lot. And perhaps maybe we can be able to find you the fake links, which we can be able to give it to you quarterly. That these are the fake information floating in Canada. So you can be able to report it to Meta and Google to take them down formally on your request. So we have the access of those tools. So that is also needs to be addressed too. So how we can be able to handle the misinformation out there, so good information of yours can be flowed well. So there's a two-way to do that. You take them out, but they always keep flooding. It's just like a spam emails. So what you also do is publish good content regularly. Like cybersecurity was a myth, but now it's needed service. Just like that, good content was not much needed, but now needed, because not only algorithms read it, but AI read them too. And tools are growing, and they need rightful information to take it. And what we're discussing is also the AI tools can analyze and publish it. So all these things matter for the organization growth, development, and education too. Now, speaking to the South Asian community and Indigenous community, what I also realize is diet intake. A lot of people come in there, especially South Asian, including myself, but we don't change our diet as per the country change. We're keeping our diet the same, the back home or where we come from. And that's natural, but our kids tend to eat differently. So diet intake needs to change, and also education needs to be in particular languages, Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu, and one of those things. So on that note, we can be able to arrange a facilitator to have the English version, and as well as the other ones too. As a media production company, we have access of different set of actors and people who can be able to provide, and even sign language.
Yes, yeah.
I know some people struggle to understand because they don't have a good hearing and readability, but they can be able to understand sign language. So one of those mediums needs to be involved in the planning for you.
That would be, that is, I know for us, we have some we have quite a few, I would say, written education resources on our website in multiple different languages. But when you connect with people personally, it's much better. And I think that the language piece for us, we rely a lot on our volunteers to provide, some translation, or even just for our staff to understand more about the sort of cultural norms. Funny you mentioned diet, because I am such a big believer in that food is such a connector for people. It's so nice for us to share a meal, whatever that is, but food has such memory to it. And so, being able to bring in some of those elements into some of our support groups and just bringing people together, doing it in a way that maybe we can also put in some education of, why we would want to think about our diet, or why we would want to do, this and learn a little bit more about dementia. So I think there's lots of potential, and I think I'm very excited about that as we move forward on our new strategic plan of how we can do things a little differently.
Very good. And are you in the process of planning new strategic plan? What is the timeline?
So we actually have our new strat plan starting this year. So it's going to be released in probably the next month or so. We spent quite a bit of time last year doing the consultations. It was really important to us that we didn't just send out a bunch of surveys to people who already use our service, but really talk to people and put the face time in and have the conversations with different interest holders. So, could be existing clients, but the public as well. Why would you use our service, or why have you not?
Yes.
Talking to our volunteers, our staff, our board, talking to our community partners, lots of interviews, lots of focus groups. And we spent a lot of time doing that. And I think the plan that we have is one that is bold, but it is going to set us up for the next 5 years with some really exciting initiatives. So
Very great. Count Digipix in as part of a consulting process. If you need help, consultation side of drafting that review, as well as making a good presentation. We can help you do that. As well as putting it online too, as the quick forms or survey form that people can be able to relate that, and after the end of form they can be able to see what is the probability they may catch the Alzheimer or not. Interactive table can also make people okay, I may have a chance to get that, and not the survey intake form, yes or no, but interactive form at the end of 20 questions. It tells you are on the spectrum of getting it or not getting.
Higher risk factors than
Factors. Yeah. Yes. So definitely, and this is how I'm so glad that you're reaching out to us on our podcast and educating, and this is how all level of organization will start to interact. The stigma is, or the dilemma, you can say, charity organization. Yeah, just how can I contribute? No need. Take my money and leave me alone. That's not the case. You not only the money, but your ideas, your ambitions, your vision can be able to do it. So if everybody start to see things the way I'm seeing it for Digibix preparation to other organization, it can relate a lot. And this will not only educate, but increase the volunteer opportunity for your organization, as well as the donation and exposure.
Right.
Yeah. And I also speak 4 languages. So count me in as a translator.
That'd be amazing. Thank you.
So thank you. Yeah. So absolutely, we are here for you. So just ask me, and even your counseling, sometime you get tired, exhausted with day-to-day operation, traveling and all that, and you just need a coffee and lunch sometime with someone neutral outside the corporation. So you can call me and say, listen, can we schedule something? Yeah, let's go for it, and let's talk about how's your health, how your well-being is, because you're supporting everyone, but who's supporting you?
Yeah, the notion for caregivers is you can't pour from an empty cup.
True.
You need to take care of yourself as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And the event on June 13th that I'm planning to do, this is exactly what we want to talk about. Take care of the caregivers.
Yeah, they are such a key for everything. And we often talk about with caregivers, I don't know about you, but I know with me, we're not really trained for that. We don't learn about it in school. We don't take a course really until we're faced with, how do I do this? And so oftentimes you're sort of thrust into a world of caregiving that you weren't really anticipating. And so being able to find services like ours where we can walk alongside you and sort of help with think about these things or connect with this person. And then also find like-minded people. So find people who are going through a similar experience. Find people who have maybe gone through the journey and what did they do? I think for us, when I hear about clients who have used our services over the years and they say, I'm still friends with my friends that I met in support group. Like that, I think if we've done our job of we've connected you with a support service that exists outside of us, right? So, and I see it all the time. I see, our even day program members, their families are friends and they get together outside of day program because they've found a common, Connection, yes.
Yes, very good. And it's all about connection and collaboration. which makes the perfect harmony and compassion. Jillian, so much information you're giving it to us. So thankful to you that you're making time. So tell us, how's the Alzheimer's Society is unique compared to the other health or social service organizations?
I think one of the things that makes us unique is the fact that we stay with people for such a long time, right? So depending on everyone's journey with dementia, it could be a number of years that you live with this disease. And so one thing that's unique with us is, we might see somebody from the time they're diagnosed and they stay with us for, could be up to a decade or more, receiving different services as their needs change, right? And so you may not always need us, but we're always there when things change and you need to come back. And the other piece that I find with us that's unique is we intersect with so many different components of the healthcare system over that sort of journey and lifespan of the disease. So, we work closely with our primary care partners, acute care, all the way through into community, long-term care. So, we're sort of everywhere, and it requires our staff to be very knowledgeable about the healthcare system and sort of how things move through it.
Okay. Yeah. Define me as something, because that word I've never heard before. So there's a primary care, senior care, healthcare. What is acute care?
Acute care would be sort of like the hospital system. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like within hospital parameters system.
Yeah.
Like Lake Ridge Hospital, something like that.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Noted. What is your perspective as a CEO, and how does the organization have individual and families living with dementia can be able to improve? Or you see, what else can be done? There's a limit to the organization, what you're offering, but as the CEO, what else you wish that can be done?
For the families?
Families.
I think that using the resources that are available, and yes, that sometimes they are limited, right? There are limits to what is provided in our healthcare system, but using the resources that are available, most of our services are free of charge. So, to get somebody to provide some navigation and support to you and give you a sense of direction in the dementia diagnosis, that doesn't cost anything. And I think the more you know, the more educated you are, the better you will fare. And so, taking our education, classes that are, there's ones that are recorded that are online that you can tune in at any time. You can come to an in-person, you can attend a virtual one, but arm yourself with the knowledge of what you will need as things progress and as things change, and lean on the resources that are there, even if they're not plentiful. Lean on the ones that are there, and be prepared, I think, to plan ahead. We talk a lot about the fact that we often plan for our retirement, right? You work and you plan, and but you don't really know what that will look like. And so we should also be planning for our healthcare retirement as well. So what might you need to take care of yourself in those retirement years? Correct. I think there's a lot of times that I hear from people, I don't want to go to long-term care. I don't want to end up in long-term care. And I don't think it's ever something I've heard someone say the opposite of, I can't wait to end up in long-term care. And so what do you need to do to prepare for that if you don't want that as your journey, right? Yes. And how do people do that with the limited resources that they have? And are there some decisions that you could make even in your younger years of where you live and how you live, and that would set you up for maybe a better life with dementia? We talk about that a lot. We talk about living well with dementia, but I was recently attended a talk with someone who lived with dementia, and he didn't like that phrase, living well, because that assumed that you were already living well before you got dementia. And so he actually feels that he's living better after his diagnosis because it made him change some of the ways that he was living. And so I kind of like that it's, live better with dementia than maybe what you could have otherwise.
Very nicely said. And one of the also good thing I heard one of the health consultant, Steve, said that yesterday, that instead of calling mental health education, how about saying mental fitness?
Yeah.
Because you don't do that as a diet plan that when you achieve your goals, you stop it.
Right.
You live with that throughout your life.
Right.
So if you are not mental fitness, sector, and taking care of it, then eventually it will get affected. And it is real. Last year, due to so many health issue was going on in our families and all that, and one of our client ended up closing the business because he went to the hospital twice because he was getting restless, sleepless due to the work stress, business stress, and all of that. The trade and all the things happen in the construction sector. So twice hospital let him go because all his vitals were okay, and there was no formal diagnostics of the mental health issue and all that. And even he was saying that he was just not feeling good, and so they let him go twice after 7-8 hours in the ER. So third time, he woke up at 2 a.m. and he said that I'm going to hurt myself or hurt other. So now take me. And at that time, the ministry gave him the declaration he's mentally unstable. So things needs to change on the hospital level too, on diagnostics level too. We need to understand we need to change our lens, you can say, looking at patient lately. Medically fit doesn't mean that they're mentally fit. And that is the sector that we need to talk about. Even healthy people. That is why in my event that I'm bringing is a free workshop, bringing professional healthcare practitioners, psychologists, psychotherapists, and all that to openly ask. The health consists, in my opinion, physical health, mental health, emotional health, and spousal health. Why? Because you have a spouse, regardless you men or women, you have a spouse, you have a family. So within that structure, how you're doing? If you're not doing well, that needs to be addressed. And before it goes too far and you become hurtful to you or your spouse or children, let's talk about it. And I'm also doing it for the fact it is time that for-profit organization take some time off of their lives and routines and start talking about it. Because if they just keeping an eye only on their profits and bottom line, then things get late for their staff or themselves. So it is time that we stepping in and working hand in hand with the charity and nonprofit organization for the educational aspect of it, because education and knowledge is a key before it affects you. So you can see things coming rather than not coming, and you blindly fall into it.
Yeah.
So Gillian, your organization recently launched a new strategic plan. So tell us about it and give us a depth, what are you planning to do between now and 5 years, and what is that plan included?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the new strategic plan. When I started in this role, we had a plan in place and then we refreshed it. So this was a brand new plan for us starting this year and for the next 5 years that really focuses on some of the top things we heard in our focus groups and our interviews that we did about making sure that people have access to care. I think that for us in Durham Region is a critical issue of people being able to access different services. Transportation isn't always easy, especially for clients of ours, maybe who don't drive. And so that was sort of a loud and clear theme that came out, was access to care and awareness of what we do, who we are, and also awareness about dementia and reducing some of that stigma that still exists. But one of the big projects that I'm really excited about is actually part of a partnership. So talking about partnership that we have had for the last few years with Ontario Tech University. And that partnership sort of started out of a research question that we had around bringing in what you might know of the dementia village model, which right now exists in long-term care. Yes. So dementia villages are quite common in Europe, not so much in Canada. There are 2 that are in British Columbia. But we asked the question around, well, what if we applied dementia village principles, like the design principles, to a day use facility instead of a live-in facility? And Ontario Tech, they were wonderful in us being able to develop a social and economic impact study about whether or not we could build something like that in Durham Region. Because for us, we really need program space. We need to be able to run more programs and in the communities where people want them to run. So not necessarily one specific location, but in multiple areas. And we also need to be thinking ahead to how we are going to manage the increase in dementia rates as they continue to rise by training the next generation of healthcare workers. And we feel very strongly that it's imperative that healthcare workers come out of their training, out of their school training, as part of a skilled dementia workforce, so that they have those skills already in their toolkit to be able to start work in whatever field they choose. So whether it's in community or long-term care or in the hospital, but that they have hands-on, real training and experience that is dementia specific. And so that was where our partnership with Ontario Tech sort of started. And so part of our plan is actually to launch what we're calling a dementia care campus model of design. And so that would actually become a facility model where it would be designed in a very intentional way, including dementia-friendly principles and design concepts, and also making sure that the space is, bold, it's innovative, it includes technology, and it functions as a teaching and training space for students, so that we can do that. And, with the partnership has also come other partnerships, other universities and colleges who are interested in doing this work, Durham College in Trent, because, there's lots of students who are keen to have this. And I know for myself, even as an occupational therapist, it would have been amazing to have some of those hands-on opportunities like I had in placement, but have them in undergrad would be amazing. So
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great initiative. And if Europe has it, or any part of the world has something that we can be able to adopt it, we should. I heard about some of the villages, they're making it, but due to our weather conditions, we need to make it indoor more friendly, or the village outdoor space too. But I certainly look forward to see that strategic plan of yours and give my input as a consultant, as a designer, as a developer, software developer, and happy to develop something. In fact, on Digipix's 20th anniversary, which is this year, we have designed a mascot to introduce, but I'm not fully ready to release that mascot, but I can tell you a little bit detail. It designed by one of our students, very good. We had a discussion and everybody was pulling me over, this is from, I say, I wish I would have had a clone. So they say, why don't you design something? So I say, okay, design somebody who is nice, it's not me, like myself, but also getting into caring, loving, respectful. And I will show you the draft we made. Now the sketches are done, illustration are done, animation are done. Now what we intend to do this year and next year, to have that mascot connected with AI for two-way voice communication. So when people talk, instead of voice coming out, there's a visual comes out too. Extremely beneficial for autism therapy, speech therapy, and having two-way connectivity and discussion. And it's not pre-recorded. It will be subjective to what are the goals that we can be able to set for the child to speak with that mascot. So Digipix is quite visionary company that you can say, and we tend to work. So I've met some colleagues who can be able to provide us some college and university level interns. So we're planning to do that, but happily to do that for the Alzheimer Society of Durham too, to see how that mascot can be able to speak using the Claude or GPT two-way communication.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I know AI, obviously, it's such a popular thing right now. And some of the research that we've been involved in with Ontario Tech, we've sort of started to look at, could AI be used in, ethical ways to support people living with dementia. And so that I know that's it's definitely a hot topic when it comes to the research. But a lot of the research we've done with Ontario Tech as well, actually most recently, is been around virtual reality. So using sort of, not necessarily AI, but the headsets and things where we can create environments, which has been really interesting to see. And we've been doing some of that research with them. And they actually presented with me in France as well on some of the work that we've done together. So
very good.
It's been amazing to have really strong partnerships with the schools as well.
Sure. Our company do make 3D VR environments, for architectural use or the automotive use. And I will give you a few demos, to you to see, what kind of environment that you wanted to have. And we can be able to have it develop for stages of, dementias. So you can be able to deploy them wearing the glasses or having the visual or even video game. We have developed the video game too. This can be very interesting for people to see, can you be able to find something there? It is hidden through to this map. So through this map, go there.
Well, with the Care Campus, we'll be doing some detailed design drawings. So depending on the site specifically where these hubs will live, the detailed design, it would be really cool to have a 3D sort of visual mock-up of this is what it could look like. So
yes, it's called pre-construction 3D modeling and animation in VR. And our company is absolutely ready and experienced to do so. So we look forward to design something for you.
Great.
Thank you. Tell us why the fundraising is so critical to do the work and operations for you, especially in a climate where the demand for the service is increasing.
Yeah, I mean, for us, dementia across the globe is increasing. And so in Durham right now, this is probably an outdated number, but there's close to 12,000 people who live with dementia. That number is projected to be close to double that in 5 years. So it is a significant increase. We've seen it. Definitely in the last few years, we've seen that increase in the number of referrals that we receive. I think last year our referral volume was up, 25 to 50% each month, depending on the month, which puts a big strain on us. Our government funding covers about 60% of what we do, but it doesn't really keep pace with that level of demand, right? And so in order for us to fill the gap, we fundraise and we try to sort of ends meet. And for us with fundraising, our walk is our biggest fundraiser. We're also doing some other events throughout the year. We rely a lot on our donors, on grants, anything that we can to raise money so that we can expand our services or at least just keep pace with what the demand is. And at this point, it doesn't seem like that demand will stop at any time. So I think that we need to be prepared for what's to come.
Absolutely. And most of the people don't realize how much work it takes, resources it takes to run the organization. And support can be monetary. Support can be physical items that you can be able to do it. And also the professional servicing, consulting, the design, and the other segment of it. What about the human resources? Are you looking for human resources as volunteers or something?
Absolutely. We love our volunteers. They are what make us tick. Our staff rely on them to help them run programs. They help run our office. They keep us organized. A lot of our volunteers are exceptional people who have, maybe don't have a connection to dementia, but want to be part of an organization, and that's fine. We have other volunteers who have gone through the caregiving journey and want to give back to others who are going through that journey. So there are a lot of opportunities to volunteer, whatever your sort of interest is. We'll find something. But, we really do rely on that. And our staff are wonderful. They're exceptional humans who do this work because they feel very passionately about it. And a lot of what we do is really reliant on our staff, our people, to deliver those programs. I think 99% of the compliments I receive are always tied to a staff member, right? Yes. We get people shouting out our staff all the time, and they become almost family to a lot of our clients. True. So, they're wonderful. I can't say enough nice things about them. But fundraising for us is a reality. And, it also we need the staff to be able to support those fundraising initiatives. It doesn't just happen, right? There's people behind the scenes that make the walk what it is and make all of our events come together. And also, a lot of our staff who do the behind the scenes things, right? The communications team, the finance team, all of those people who are working so hard behind the scenes.
Very good. And I always say, if the staff is doing good, it comes from the leadership. And your leadership, as I'm just talking to you more than an hour, I'm extremely comfortable and confident that you are beyond great fit for Alzheimer's Society of Durham. And you look quite younger than your age.
Thank you.
And, so that is also good that this society will have a better chance of growth and development into the future under your leadership. So
Thank you.
Thank you on that.
You're very welcome.
Related to that, tell us, if someone never participated, like myself, before, what would be your say and encouragement to get them involved, whether by walking, donating, or volunteering?
If you've never been a part of the walk, I think it's a great opportunity to come out and support your local community, support us, support people living with dementia and caregivers. And it's as easy as coming to the walk. You can just show up if you absolutely need to. I would say register ahead of time so we know you're coming. But basically, if you arrive on the day, I can guarantee you'll have a very lovely time. You'll meet some very lovely people. Our board is quite involved with our walk, so you probably would run into one of them, and they can talk to you about the organization. But I think for anybody who's thinking about joining us on the day, we'd love to see you.
That's very nice. And is there a process to join the board? Is it board volunteer?
Board is volunteer. We do recruitment at different stages throughout the year. We usually post that on our website as well as on different media channels, often looking for different skill sets that help support our board with different responsibilities, and making sure that our board is representative of the people that we serve. So making sure that we get people from across Durham, different backgrounds, cultures. It's really important to us that be reflected on our board.
Gillian, you're doing such a great job and learning so much about the dementia and the Alzheimer too. So tell us, what are the biggest pressures you're seeing now, and what concerns you most about the future? Number of people living with continues to rise.
I would say probably the biggest pressure that we see now, and it's probably not just us that sees this, but our biggest pressures come from wait times. So for us, a wait time to even access a diagnosis is significant. And some of the memory clinics that we support, over a year to get a diagnosis is too long. People cannot wait that long. And that really comes down to resources and having enough people who are able to diagnose. And, aside from just even accessing a diagnosis, the wait times to access different services. We see people waiting even for a day program spot. And that is so critical to have that social connection. And then even further down the line, you think wait times for long-term care. In some cases, it's years that you're waiting for long-term care. And that puts a lot of pressure on caregivers to, maintain care at home and limited resources for that as well, and financial pressures that come with that. So I think that's probably the biggest pressure we see. And in all honesty, knowing what the projected rates are for dementia and knowing what we're expecting to see in terms of an increase, I'm concerned that the wait times will continue to rise. And so how do we sort of work together with our partners to help come up with efficiencies and be resourceful, and then also have the support of our local government to address dementia as a significant priority that's impacting sort of all pieces of the healthcare system.
Correct. And I agree with you on this strongly. And as you mentioned earlier, 25 to 50% referrals are increasing per year. That's a lot. Yeah. And as you know, the organization resources, human resources to the capacity within the office, virtual and whatnot, doesn't increase that much equally. So that put the strain on it. So speaking of which, how do you manage the stress for yourself?
of myself. Oh, that's good. I have an amazing team that supports me. And I try to take care of myself. We talk about practicing what you preach because, I can't sit here and say our brains are important to take care of if I don't do the same. And so making sure that I think about, going for a walk every day, as long as I'm moving my body, I'm making sure I'm eating somewhat appropriately, right? And doing all the things that you're supposed to do. Spending time with my family, my kids, being outside, all of those things that make my mental fitness, as you said, a little bit better.
Very good.
I also really love my job. I really love what I do. I don't think I mentioned that my background is as an occupational therapist, but, I lead from that lens, and it's important to me that the organization comes from a place of very client and person-centered care, and that's a lot of what I do. So
the job that you're doing is very important, and it gets very stressful very fast too. So you have to love it, what you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't sustain it, for more than a year or so, because the amount of stress is just policing and the firemen too. Seems very attractive from outside, from the movie or drama perspective. And when you put yourself in the shoes of those servicemen and women, it is a tough job. And it is quite stressful. So on de-escalating your stress, if you get stress and you just nowhere to call, give me a call.
Okay.
I'll take you for coffee.
Perfect. That'd be great.
So Gillian, my next question to you, tell us the national and provincial dementia strategies, please.
That's a great question. So Canada does have a national dementia strategy. We haven't necessarily seen the funding that supports that in the last few years. And with the provincial strategy, I think, one of the things that we as a federation, so all of us within the Alzheimer societies in Ontario, are really hoping for is for the provincial government to actually come up with a bit more of a roadmap or a structured dementia pathway. I think that's something that's missing for us in Ontario. And, I think that this next decade, as I've mentioned, is probably one that's going to be exciting from a research perspective when it comes to treatment and opportunities. But we need the infrastructure to be able to manage that. And you look at, diseases like cancer, where if you're diagnosed, there's a very clear pathway that is followed. We need something similar for dementia. And I think one of the things that I see a lot of, and we talk a lot about, when we're talking about, different types of care that's needed, whether it's a priority that, the OHT has selected or the provincial government has selected, but oftentimes dementia complicates everything. So whether or not there's a strategy, maybe the focus is on diabetes, but imagine having diabetes, but also having dementia. So that makes it a little bit more complicated than just diabetes. And so I know I'm grateful that we're a member of our local OHT, our Durham Ontario Health Team, and working together with our partners across the province with Alzheimer's Society Ontario to come together and really sort of present options to the provincial government about how we can create a stronger sort of dementia pathway and a dementia infrastructure so that we're prepared as things progress.
Do you wish to say anything to the provincial or national governments to address your concerns?
I think that dementia needs to be a priority for sure. It needs to remain a priority. And with that comes the resources that would help support that.
Now you're mentioning it, lately or ever, I've not seen many ads by the government, Ontario government or federal government, educating people on the national TV about dementia and all that. So it is an important issue to raise. It's a very valid disease, concerning disease, and it's a long-term fix for that. And if you take the client intake and serve them about 10 years, that's quite a bit of time. And people don't realize, there's a cost associated to run the operation. And once you take somebody on board, you just don't let them go easily. There's a process to it. So you have to do your job right. So for that, I kudos to you and your team for doing a good job. That was a wholesome of the podcast, and I'm enjoying it. Even though like it was a healthcare topic, and that disease is nothing to take lightly or joke about. So as a wrap up, give us your hope. What do you think about the future of dementia care in Durham Region?
I'm incredibly excited about Durham Region healthcare, particularly dementia care. I think that I would love to see the Alzheimer Society, especially with our new plan, take a leadership role in terms of that dementia care piece in Durham Region. And beyond that, I think I am overly eager to see dementia sort of take its place as a healthcare priority over the next decade. I think that's something that we will see now that there's approved treatment for Alzheimer's disease. But I'm hopeful, I think is the main takeaway of where we're at in Durham. And I do think that Durham Region is an amazing place to see some innovation. We've got such a wonderful infrastructure already, and also lots of people working together. And I'm hopeful that we can all work in the same direction and it become possible for people in Durham Region to live better with dementia.
That's very nicely said. And education is the key. So more people know, more organizations know, they can be able to penetrate to their staffing and the community, and that will be causing a good ripple effect.
I think there's also an opportunity for Durham Region to really be a leader. And I'm happy to be a leader in this field. But from a global perspective, if we're able to actually execute on some of our initiatives tied to our strategic plan. This is stuff that hasn't been done before. And imagine putting Durham on the map as the first place to have a care campus and these, amazing partnerships between community support and education facilities that, next time we're at a global conference, it's Durham Region they're talking about.
Very good. I like that. So based on that, let's arrange a meeting with the Region of Durham. John Henry is one of the finest politicians the Durham Region ever seen, and this is his last term, as you know. So let's arrange a meeting next month after your fundraising event, and see what we can be able to do working with the region. And I'm happy to put the plan together from the government, so it's easier on them, easier on you, and so we can be able to see what we can be able to contribute together.
Be great to talk to him again.
Thank you. As you're wrapping it up, tell our audiences how can listeners support the work of the Alzheimer Society of Durham Region beyond donations or events?
Well, they can come and talk to us. They can visit our website. They can also spread the word, be our champion. If you've used our services or someone, talk to someone about us and be able to spread the word as to why they should connect with us. Even if it's talking to your own doctor about us, if they don't know about us already. I think that's a great way to help us, is to help us with the awareness piece. If they do want to get in touch with us, our phone number 905-576-2567, or they can email us at information@alzheimerdurham.com. They can also visit our website, alzheimerdurham.ca. There's lots of ways to reach us. We're happy to have any support from our community.
So Gillian, thank you very much, for your input and time in this podcast. Is there any one message that you would like people to know and take away from this podcast?
One message. I would say, it's never too early or too late to contact us. So oftentimes I hear from people that they wish they had found us sooner in their journey, which, yes, I think the earlier you can get connected to us, the better your outcomes will be. But I also think that, even if you have a concern around your own cognition, or you think maybe someone in your life needs to be assessed, it's never too early to just simply ask for advice. And we're here at any point to support people and walk alongside people wherever they are in the journey.
Got it. Is there any voluntarily, test somebody can be able to take in online or something just to assist their mental health?
It's interesting. a test for dementia or
Dementia.
yeah. I would say I would be cautious about any test online. But even the ones that I know that they're developing, it's best to talk to your physician or talk to a primary care provider around changes in your cognition, because it may not be dementia, right? There's lots of reasons why our cognition might change. It could be, your sleep habits. It could be related to your, other health conditions that are happening. A lot of mental health components there's a blur of, is it cognitive change or is there something else going on? So it's really important that you speak with your doctor to make sure all the tests are done. And, again, never too late or too early to have that conversation with your physician as well.
Got it. Thank you, Gillian Barrie. It was wonderful to talk to you.
You too.
You're a great CEO and a good speaker too. Easy to talk. And I encourage people to reach out to your organization and schedule a visit or something and open up to donating, volunteering, and contributing any shape or form.
Yes.
Because people think only donation financially is enough. It is not. There are other ways to contribute too.
Absolutely.
Even your ideas and input too can be able to add value. So thank you so much for coming in Khurram Qureshi's podcast, and I'm happy that you joined it.
Thank you.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this podcast, and we're grateful for the venue for providing this space too. It's the Work Hub. They have co-office, working space, boardroom, and podcast room. So please let us know if you'd like to be in this podcast for the future. Our number is 289-275-2147 or the email contact@digipixinc.com. Thank you and have a wonderful day.